Hey, what's up, guys? Slava Ukraina! Oleksandr Usyk does it. He pulls it off. I had to rock the Usyk jersey. I got this in Chicago when he made his pro debut. Wintrust Arena against Chaz Witherspoon. So I've had this for a while, and I had to rock it. Him being the undisputed heavyweight champion and an all-time great and all. So let me give my quick thoughts on this. I do have the phone lines open if any of you guys want to jump on the phones and talk about it. I won't stay on too long, but I just wanted to give some quick thoughts because, first and foremost, what a great fight. This was a fantastic fight. You had ebb and flow. Both guys had moments. Both guys had stretches, where they looked good for a few rounds, right? And there was back and forth, which is what you want to see in any fight, but particularly in a big heavyweight championship fight like this. You think of the all-time great heavyweight fights, and you get that ebb and flow. You know what I'm saying? And we got that tonight. So you got that. You also got really good craft in skills. These two fighters are incredibly skilled, particularly Usyk. And Fury, for being such a big guy, he does a lot of things really well, and he thinks in there and he makes adjustments. And he definitely did well in spots. I thought he clearly lost the fight. More on that in a minute. But we saw some great stuff from both guys. We saw. Remember, I posted yesterday my official prediction video, my breakdown, all that. And I said, I expect the best version of Tyson Fury. A lot of people were saying he was shot because he looked like crap against Ngannou. I told you all, I've talked to people connected to that camp. Fury didn't even train. He was drinking and partying. I don't even know if he sparred. He did not take that fight seriously. He took this obviously very seriously, right? And this was the best version of Fury. I don't want to hear that he's faded or past his best or this, that, the other. This was the best version of Tyson Fury. This was the same version that beat Deontay Wilder. This is the same version that beat Vladimir Klitschko. Okay. This was the best version of Tyson Fury. Thanks, baby. My wife just brought me some dinner. Thank you so much, baby. I have an amazing wife. And amazing kids. I'm very blessed. Thank you, baby. So we got the best version of him, and we got the best version of Oleksandr Usyk. And both guys kind of raised the stakes, but in the second half of the fight. So let me back up. Okay. The first few rounds, I thought Usyk looked really good. And he was using his jab. He was doing a lot of very, very good things. What did I tell you guys? He was going to stab the left hand to the body, to the chest, right? And he was doing that. He's doing exactly what I thought he would do. And then Fury raised the stakes. He raised his game and he responded in the middle rounds. And he had a nice little run. And what did I tell you Fury was going to do? Right uppercut, right? I talked about that. Right uppercut when Usyk's lunging in. And he had success with that. The difference being in the second half of the fight, particularly the 8th, 9th round, and then onward, Usyk took over. He raised his game to another level that Fury simply could not match. Let me repeat that for the haters in the back. Tyson Fury could not match the level Usyk rose to in the last 4 or 5 rounds of that fight. He was close, but not quite at that level. Tyson Fury's level was revealed in this fight. He had every advantage. He had the entire system working for him. I'll talk about that too. And it still wasn't enough. And in the end, the right man won. It should have been a unanimous decision. It probably should have been a 9th round TKO, but the right man won. So at least it's a split decision, and that looks awful because this wasn't a split decision. This was a clear win for Usyk, but at least the right man won. So I don't feel completely ripped off. I feel like my intelligence is being mocked and questioned, right? Because of some of the antics, but the right guy won. So cool. Okay. I should mention there's a rematch clause. These two guys are going to fight again. Fury said he wants that rematch, so they'll fight again. So the question will be, and we'll dissect that over the coming weeks and months, of course, which guy can do better in the rematch. And so we'll have to think about that. Both guys have had rematches, right? Usyk had the rematch with Joshua, and Joshua raised his game in that rematch, and Usyk had to raise his game to match that, and he did. Fury ducked the rematch with Klitschko, but he fought Derek Chisora 4,000 times, and he fought Deontay Wilder 3 times. So he's used to fighting guys multiple times and seeing how a guy looks and then making adjustments. And we got to say, Fury looked a lot better in the second and third fight against Wilder than he did in the first fight, right? So he definitely has shown the ability in the past to make adjustments and perform better in rematches. So we'll talk about that later. We won't talk about that tonight, but we're going to see these two fight again. My hope is that it happens this year. Both guys got cut in this fight a little bit. Fury's cuts were caused by punches from Usyk. Usyk had a cut on the eye caused from a headbutt from Fury. But in the end, they both suffered cuts, not major ones. And actually, Fury was a broken nose. But all that stuff should heal up pretty quick. These two guys should fight again in the fall. We should get them fighting again in the fall, go right back to Riyadh, do it there. It was an awesome scene, although the fight card took way too long. I got to say this. Boxing, the pacing of the fights, and this is universal in the sport. Some promoters are worse than others, okay? Some shows are worse than others. But universally across the board, these shows lag on too long, and there's just too much time between fights. There should be no more than 5 minutes between fights. I don't give a damn about what all these guys, actually it's always girls, have to say, you know, the cute girl with the microphone talking about this, that. I don't give a shit. Show the fight. This is the 21st century, and a lot of the way boxing is produced still feels like it's 20th century, the pacing. Everything today is fast-paced, right? It's dating is now swiping left or right. That's literally how people date now in Gen Z. Everything is quick. It's on social media. Boom, 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 right? Everything's quick hits, short little videos, little photos. That's the way things are now. In media, a lot of the posts you see on news sites, it's 3 paragraphs, right? It's not this long article. So that's the way things are now, and that's the way UFC does their shows. It's the way WWE does their shows. Boxing needs to catch up to that. This show took way too damn long, and the main event was supposed to take place at 6. It took place at 7 p.m. So had to get that out of the way. Okay, let's really quickly talk about Oleksandr Usyk. Now, look, these two will fight again. We'll see what happens in the rematch. We'll talk about that later. As of right now, Oleksandr Usyk is, 22-0? Yes, 22-0. And in 22 professional fights, he has completely cleaned out the cruiserweight division and the heavyweight division. This after having a nice run in the World Series of Boxing where he beat several good fighters, guys who have gone on to have a lot of success in the heavyweight division. And before that, of course, the terrific amateur run where he learned on the job in his first couple of years. He had a lot of losses his first couple of years in the amateurs, but he learned, he adjusted, he got a lot better. And if you look at the last couple of years of his amateur run, he was stellar. I don't know if he lost. I don't think he lost once. Won the world championships, gold, won the Olympics, gold. And yes, I count all of that in the overall body of work. I know some people are like, the amateurs doesn't count. I'm sorry. If you're going to the Olympics, if you're winning hundreds of amateur fights, if you're winning the world championships, and you're literally beating guys from dozens of countries, the best fighters from dozens of countries, yeah, that matters. That matters. So, you look at this guy's overall body of work, but particularly as a professional, 22 professional fights, undisputed in 2 different divisions. Every single title fight was on the road. Oftentimes he was fighting guys in their home territory. Tonight, this fight was in Saudi Arabia, but it was definitely a pro Fury house. in terms of just the fans, there were a lot more Fury fans there, a lot more British people, which makes sense when you think about the economics involved, traveling there and stuff. But then also just the establishment. This was a Fury promoted fight, and he had all the power in here. So Usyk was basically fighting in Fury's backyard tonight. His maybe it wasn't his backyard, it was his uncle's backyard. How about that, right? That's what this was. So for Usyk to do what he has done is unprecedented. And I talked about this in my preview show yesterday. The jump from cruiserweight to heavyweight is the hardest jump to make in boxing. And if you don't believe me, fine. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the statistics. The cruiserweight division has been around for about 50 years. All right. I'm not saying let's go back 100 years, 200 years. Let's go back 50 years. Okay. Let's go back to the 70s. From the 70s to today, there have been two fighters who have gone undisputed at cruiserweight and undisputed at heavyweight. And there are only a handful of fighters that have even just won a title belt at both divisions. Okay. I'm not talking about unifying or being undisputed. I'm just talking about winning a title. And you guys know they give away titles like candy today, right? Adrian Broner won titles in 4 weight classes. Gervonta Davis hasn't fought anybody with a pulse. He's won titles in 4 weight classes. I can go on and on. Okay. The list of cruiserweight and heavyweight world champions, even in this era where they give out belts like candy, is very, very small. It's the hardest jump to make in boxing. It truly, truly is. So to do what Usyk has done, obviously it's him and Holyfield. They're the only 2 guys who have done this. If you look at the way Usyk did it compared to Holyfield, I think what he has done is more impressive, considering the fact that he has fought on the road almost exclusively during this entire run. I mentioned in my preview video, I think it was 8 of his first 9 fights were in Ukraine. Those are all prospect, building and getting him acclimated to the professional ranks type of fights. But once he went on the road and started fighting all over the world, really, that's when he started this run, right? And that first title fight was in Poland. And from there, it's been all over the world he has fought and collected all these belts. And he's done it in very impressive ways. I mean, we saw him struggle when he first got to the heavyweight division, and he's had to really grow into the division. But he fought a massive mountain of a man tonight who has been able to manhandle every opponent he's ever fought, except for he didn't manhandle Klitschko. He just kind of outfought him, kind of out-game planned him that particular night. But outside of Klitschko, and maybe outside of a handful of fights where he was off, he was off against Ngannou, he was off against Wallin. Outside of that, Tyson Fury on his A game has manhandled every opponent he's faced when he's at his best. He was at his best tonight. He couldn't manhandle Usyk. Really, really impressive performance. If you don't rate Usyk, first of all, Usyk's the number 1 fighter pound for pound in the world. I said a couple weeks ago it was Naoya Inoue. And I meant it. I meant it. But this performance, I'm sorry, this is even better than what Inoue's done. The top fighter in the world, pound for pound, is Oleksandr Usyk. That debate's over. If you don't agree with me, then that's fine. But pound for pound is subjective. But the run this guy has gone on is historic. It truly is. And we haven't seen anything like this in the modern era. Nothing. You have to go way, way, way back when there was 1 belt per division to see a run like this. Especially, fighting on the road and all that. So number 1 pound for pound, obviously, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer before this fight. And now we got to start talking about him as an all-time great. We really do. He weighed 223 for this fight, and I think Fury weighed 262. So you're talking about a 40-pound weight difference. You're talking about 6'9" versus 6'3". You're talking about a guy who bulks up to get to 223, has to work out, lift weights, and eat 8,000 calories a day to get to 223, and another guy who has to work his ass off and diet to get down to 262. So that 40-pound weight difference in the ring, these 2 dudes walk around, there's 80 pounds between them, in between fights. You know what I mean? So that's what this was. And so this was David versus Goliath. And I just think this performance should not be underrated. Number one pound for pound, first ballot Hall of Famer, all-time great. And now we have to say, we got to put him in the all-time great heavyweight discussion, because the way he competed with Fury, the way he competed with Joshua, who is probably the physically, like the most physically dominant heavyweight of all time, just in terms of his physicality and strength. And just look at him. He's an Adonis, right? He's certainly up there toward the top. And the way he was able to box and move with those guys, I got to say, Usyk would have competed in any heavyweight era. Yes, I'm including the 90s. Yes, I'm including Lennox Lewis, Joe Louis, Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, all those guys. I don't care if you disagree with me. The proof is in what we've seen. He would compete in any era in heavyweight history. That means he's an all-time great. Discussion settled. He's an all-time great. That's it. All right, let's talk about the actual fight. I want to share everyone's favorite punch numbers. Okay, let me blow this up just a little bit. Make it a little bit bigger. Let me drink some water. Okay. So I know you don't score fights with punch numbers. I get it. Shut up. I can hear you yelling. Just stay with me for a second. Let's look at total punches. Fury did throw 90 more punches, but he landed 13 less. He also landed less body punches. He did land 46 of them. Several of them were low, but he did land 46 of them. Usyk landed 70. And look at Usyk's accuracy, 41, almost 42% accuracy compared to Fury, who was fairly accurate as well. That's pretty accurate, almost 32%. But Usyk was able to land more and punched more accurately. You look at the jabs, Fury actually used the jab a lot more, which makes sense. He was the taller, longer fighter. That's what you should do. But Usyk was only out-jabbed by, 14 jabs? And look at the jabs to the body. Usyk dominated in that category, 29-6. In terms of power punches to the body was basically even. Usyk threw more. This is the interesting part. And it makes sense. But Usyk, the smaller guy, the so-called, little guy, threw more power punches than Fury, threw just as many to the body, landed just as many to the body, and landed, almost 30 more overall. So, again, you don't score fights with punch numbers, but if we can go up to that first row, guys, when you look at overall punches thrown and landed, okay? And this, this is jabs, this is body punches, everything, that top row. Look at the first few rounds. They're close, dude, right? It's Fury lands 9, Usyk lands 8 in the first round. The difference for me and why I scored those first couple rounds for Usyk, he landed more power punches. And I thought his power punches had a lot more effect on the fight. But then you start looking at those middle rounds and you see Fury starts really separating himself. That fifth round, he lands 22 punches to Usyk's 12. He lands 20 punches to Usyk's 10th. So he had a little run there. But then let's look at the second half of the fight, dude. Usyk pretty much took over, landed more in every round throughout the rest of the whole second half of the fight. He doubled up Fury's landed punches in the 8th round, landed 8 more in the 9th round, quadrupled Fury's output in terms of punches landed in the 10th round, landed more in the 11th, landed almost twice as much in the 12th and final round to put a stamp on his performance and clearly decisively win the fight. So again, you don't score fights with punch numbers, but they do give an indication as to what you saw. So Fury did a lot of jabbing and throwing uppercuts to the body. Several of those were low and below the belt. Referee Mark Nelson, who had a really, really poor performance. No surprise there. He's a really bad ref who continues to get work somehow. He didn't really warn him, so Fury kept doing it. Now, most of the punches were good, solid body punches. Okay, I want to make that clear. But there were several that obviously strayed low and there was zero warning. But Fury had some success with that. Usyk was able to land, and it's really impressive that a 6'3" guy is able to land overhand lefts on a 6'9" guy. It's really impressive. And he did that every round of the fight, except maybe for a couple of those middle rounds. He did it from the opening round through the final bell. And he also landed a lot of lead right hooks. That was really impressive. And it started because of the body work. And he wasn't just sticking a jab to the body. He was throwing power punches to the body. He was throwing the left hand to the body. And those body punches bothered Fury after a while. So just in terms of the overall body of work, I think Usyk clearly definitely had the better work throughout the fight. Let's talk about the 9th round real quick. Mark Nelson. Let me go ahead and share my screen with him. Let me pop him up so we can look at his face and judge him together. Let me see. Where the hell is he? Right there. Okay. There we go. Mark Nelson. Okay, let's talk about this 9th round. So we'll dissect it when we see the video and we can watch it over and over. But right now, just from what I remember, Fury was badly hurt and he was hit with a overhand left, a series of punches, but there was an overhand left that basically had him reeling into the ropes and the ropes held him up. That's a knockdown. Mark Nelson missed it. So Fury holds on to the ropes, collects himself. Usyk jumps on him, hits him with another shot that sends Fury onto the other side of the ring into the ropes again. That's a knockdown. Nelson missed that one. Then Usyk follows up again, gets Fury into the corner, the other corner of the ring, and starts teeing off on him and actually turns to Mark Nelson and says, "Are you going to stop this or what?" I don't know if you guys caught that. And that's on Usyk, but Usyk's such a classy guy. Usyk was like, "Man, this dude's hurt. Are you going to stop this?" He like turned to the ref and said, "Are you going to stop this or what?" And so Mark Nelson jumps in and you're thinking, oh, he's going to stop the fight. He goes, no, you go over there. This is a knockdown. 1, 2, gives him a count and bails Fury out. So the bell rings. Fury gets a break. He gets, the 10 seconds or whatever. Then he gets the break between the rounds to recover. Completely mishandled that entire situation. Fury fouled multiple times through the fight, which we knew he was going to do that. I talked about that, right? We knew he was going to headbutt, hit behind the head, go low, push, hold and hit, punch on the break. He did all of the above. Mark Nelson did not give him one warning. Not one. I kind of expected that. But in the 9th round, when you land a shot, and a guy falls back into the ropes and the ropes hold him up, that is a knockdown, should be scored. There were actually multiple knockdowns in that 9th round. Now, you want to say the fight shouldn't have been stopped? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Let him fight. Let him keep going. Okay, I'm with you. But there should have at least been 2 knockdowns in that 9th round. And if Nelson had gone over with that first knockdown and called it correctly, you'd have a knockdown and there'd be like a minute left in the round for Usyk to work after scoring that knockdown. So Fury would be hurt, but also he'd know it's a 10-8 round and Usyk could pour it on and go for a second knockdown and get a 10-7 round. Nelson mishandled that entire sequence. I don't want to hear any damn excuses. This guy's had terrible performances in multiple fights over the years, and he fucked up this one pretty badly. And I was actually disappointed in the commentary crew calling the fight for not really calling that out more. They really should have called that out because that was really mishandled. And I saw some people already on X comparing it to when Deontay Wilder dropped Fury in the 12th round of their first fight. And that's going to be the play from the people I call the cult, right? That's going to be their play. Well, y'all thought that was okay, but it's completely different situations. And people don't understand a 10 count doesn't have to be 10 seconds. It's not 10 seconds. It's a 10 count. It might take 20 seconds. There is no rule that says it has to be 10 seconds. That's just a wives' tale. Jack Reese did nothing wrong in that sequence in the 12th round of the first fight between Fury and Wilder. In fact, I thought he did a perfect job. Completely different situation than what this was. Okay? And had Nelson correctly scored the first knockdown that I talked about a minute ago and gave a quote unquote slow count, taking his time, let Fury recover a little bit. I could see how people would be pissed at that, but I would say then maybe it's comparable in that regard to what happened in that first Fury Wilder fight. But it still wouldn't be the same situation. It's just completely different situations. And by the way, Fury was dropped 4 times by Wilder. He's been dropped now, 7, 8 times in his whole career. He's never been that hurt. He was done. He was out on his feet. And if Usyk had been less classy and just went in there and teed off when Mark Nelson started to kind of creep in, instead of looking at Mark and saying, hey, you're going to stop this? This guy's hurt. Instead of being so classy, if Usyk would have just said, fuck you, and just went off on him, another 1 or 2 punches, Fury's on the canvas, and he's out for 5 minutes. That's how badly he was hurt. Wilder never hurt him that bad. Never. That's going to hurt some people's feelings, but it's the truth. So Mark Nelson basically was made to order, right? Again, I've talked about the fact that this was a co-promotion between Top Rank and Queensberry. That's Fury's people. They got the right ring officials for this fight. Real quick, and then I'll get to some super chats and some phone calls. I gotta call this fucking guy out. Let's go ahead and just blast him. Craig Metcalf. We knew this guy was a piece of shit before coming in. I'm just going to call these people pieces of shit because they are. I don't care what they think. Yeah, it's not professional. Well, you're not professional because you're a corrupt asshole. Craig Metcalf scored this fight for Tyson Fury. We all knew that was probably going to happen. He had it 114-113 for Tyson Fury. So with the knockdown, that means he gave Tyson Fury 7 rounds. Interesting. I'm going back to the punch numbers here, and Fury outlanded Usyk in 5 rounds. Again, you don't score fights with punch numbers, but there is no way in hell Tyson Fury won 7 rounds of this fight. That's just not what took place. This guy was brought in for a reason. This should not have been a split decision. Now, after the fight, the post-fight interview, a member of Oleksandr Usyk's team was asked about the ref, and he mentioned the ref screwed up in the 9th. I can't remember his name, but he was a member of Usyk's team. And Metcalf's scorecard was brought up, and he said, listen, we're going to fix that shit. That's basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. He said, we're going to fix that shit. What he means by that, in my opinion, is now that Usyk won this fight, they are in control of the rematch. Their team will dictate the terms. It will not be a top-ranked Queensberry promoted show. Usyk's side will promote it. So they will get to select the ring officials. They will have the influence to do that in the rematch. That's at least the way it should be. And at that point, they're kind of the establishment, if you will, in that they get to dictate terms. I think that's how they're going to fix this. They're going to get in better judges and referees who actually know what the hell they're doing, because a few of these guys were just bad. Okay. Let's see. Super chat from 1 Foot Out the Door. Thank you so much. She says, a clear-cut win for boxing. I agree. Look, guys, a lot of times in boxing, the good guy doesn't win. In fact, most times the good guy doesn't win. In this case tonight, the good guy won. Which actually brings me to a thought. You know, in a post-fight interview, Tyson Fury brought up the war in Ukraine. And he said that's the reason that the judges scored it for Usyk. He said he felt he won the fight and the judges scored it for Usyk because of the war in Ukraine. I got to say, That was absolutely disgusting and classless. To bring that up as an excuse, no, dude, you just got your ass beat. You got your nose broke. You got knocked out in the 9th round and got saved by the ref. Judge Craig Metcalf bailed you out. You didn't win this fight, bro. Give the man his credit. But bringing up the war in Ukraine and saying that's why he got this, the decision, absolutely disgusting. But I would expect no less from Tyson Fury. That's the kind of guy he is. Super chat from Israel Kano Jr. Thank you so much. He says, where do you rank Usyk pound for pound now? Definitely has a case for number one with all the accolades. Yeah, Israel, I talked about that before. I definitely rate him number one. I think you just have to. It's not just because of the weight difference. When you think pound for pound, like for me, I think about a guy moving up in weight and having success, right? I mentioned the jump from cruiser to heavyweight being the hardest jump to make. There's that, but then there's also the road warrior thing, man. And he has shown levels, just levels. I still think Inoue and Crawford are right there, and they might even be better in certain ways than Usyk, but Usyk's run, what he has accomplished, dwarfs what those guys have accomplished, in my opinion, recently. Super chat from Midwest Boxing. Thank you so much. He says, bro, in October in 2019, you told me in Chicago at the Witherspoon fight that Usyk would be undisputed champion. And here we are. Hell yeah. Bro, I remember that. That was such a fun night and such a fun trip for me and my wife before we had kids and all that. And I covered a lot. I traveled a lot in the late 2010s into the early 2020s covering fights. And that Chicago trip was special. We had a lot of fun. And, I've met Usyk's team a couple times and talked to those guys, Egis Klimas and all them. And I've met Usyk and talked to him briefly and stuff. And, he's just a special guy. He's a special guy and a special fighter. And you're right, dude. We were back then, we saw something and here we are. Super chat from Papa Chubby. Thank you so much. He says, Fury was lineal champ for 8 years straight. Another cherry on this statement tonight. Usyk has all the credentials at heavyweight. Yeah, so for all the people that said Fury was lineal this, lineal that, and you guys know how I feel about all that stuff, but Usyk now is the guy. He's not only undisputed in both divisions, but he's been lineal. He's had all the belts and been lineal. No one's done that in this era. So, truly historic accomplishment. Super chat from MJB Taco. Thank you so much. He says, long way since we saw his first heavyweight fight in Chicago, Mike. That's right. You were there. That's right. I said, Usyk is a badass. Time for a shot. Yeah, I might have to do a shot tonight. Just I'm trying to be good, but I might have to do one tonight. But you're right, dude. I do remember hanging out at that rooftop bar. We had a lot of fun on that trip, man. That was so much fun, bro. I miss you guys, man. I miss you guys. Super chat from Sam. Hey, thank you so much, Sam. He said, Nelson let Horn elbow Manny Pacquiao to death and told me a week later in Dallas how great of a job he did. Oh, my God. You're totally right, dude. He let Jeff Horn just literally beat the shit out of Manny with his face and his elbows. Just Billy Goat him all night. And Mark Nelson just allowed that to happen. There was never a warning. It was insane. Mark Nelson is just a bad ref, dude. We got to start calling these guys out. And like we could say, oh, they had a poor night at the office. They had an off night. No, you're shitty at your job. That's it. As I've said 1,000 times, 90% of fights, it might even be more than that, but let's say 90%, are really easy to score and really easy to officiate. But it's that 10% where it's really close and the action is getting a little rough. That's where it gets hard. And that's where the shitty judges and the shitty refs reveal themselves. It's not because Mark Nelson will be like, well, I've reffed hundreds of fights and I haven't had controversy except for a handful of them. Yeah, but you have controversy every time it's a close fight. Every time it's a competitive fight or it's a rough fight, there's a lot of roughhouse tactics and fouling, then you fuck up, homie. But yeah, the other fights where it's, a 4-round showcase, yeah, you get that one right. A chimp could get that one right. My toddler could get that one right. Okay? That's not hard. Okay. All right. I think I've made myself clear. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Thad. I know he had a lot of money riding tonight. Let's see what if he was a good night or a bad night. Thad, how'd you do tonight, brother?
It was a good night, but it could have been a lot better if they scored that as a knockout in round 9. Yeah. That would have been unbelievable. But, I'm happy with the win for Usyk because I was a fan, again, for a change. And I didn't really want to let on that I was. But, I barely have a voice right now. I jumped the highest I've jumped since I was in college playing basketball. So I have to say, absolutely spectacular win. Boxing won finally, but it lost. Because, Mark, the people that you said, Metcalf and Nelson, should be in the Hall of Shame that you create, the Mike Montero Hall of Shame Awards.
Maybe we should
add them to Tony Weeks, Dave Moretti, that Glenn Feldman, and all the like. Kenny Bayless, you're all corrupt. It's not incompetence because I've actually seen the tests and I've seen what they had to go through to get those jobs. It's not incompetence. It's corruption. It's flat out corruption. To score 7 rounds for Tyson Fury is absolutely, it's impossible because I scored it 4 Fury clear rounds, 6 Usyk clear rounds, and 2 swing rounds that I divided up. That was exactly how the fight went.
Yeah, that's a good
scorecard. You could actually, 115, 112, but you could actually have shaded that round 9, 10, 7 if you really wanted to get technical because of all the things you've said and the aesthetic of that round. But back to the corruption, we knew it was going to take place. I had the wrong judge fingered. I got to apologize to the other 2 judges. Metcalf, you're absolutely on the take. Allegedly on the take. Yeah. Mark Nelson, worst ref besides Tony Weeks, currently reffing boxing. Please retire. Do us all a favor. Because boxing did win. We all won as purists, but we still lost because the stench is still there from that.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just a beautiful performance. And in a rematch, you asked the question, what would happen? Who can make the adjustments? I think Fury gets stopped clean in the rematch. Usyk now has the range. He was finding the range. Like I said, when I called this week, I said, this is going to have the aesthetic of Tommy Hearns versus Sugar Ray Leonard 1, where you're going to have the boxer turn into the puncher and the puncher turn into the boxer. And Tyson Fury.
That was spot fucking on, Thad. You called it.
Because I'll be honest, I knew there was everyone knew there was a size disadvantage. But in the ring, it was even more. And when I saw that first round, I'm like, whoa, Usyk's going to have a very hard time closing this distance. I could tell right off the bat he was very, very, very distraught over having to cover that ground because, my God, Fury looked immense.
Yeah.
Immense. He covered so much ground in there. And when he's next to Wilder, you don't really notice it. But against Fury, just the arms and the legs, his entire body was just so much bigger. So Usyk had to work double time just to get in. He found his way. I mean, I'll tell you, I was down. Everyone was down. I mean, the fight changed. Round 7 I thought was a swing round, but round 8, obviously, the shot to the nose busted him open. At that point, I told everyone around me, and you're gonna have a lot of new fans, okay? Because I gave your show a prop cool. there. They're gonna be signing up. They already signed up.
Thank you.
So now when he busted him with that shot, with that beautiful left, Fury doubted himself for the first time in that fight. Fury was scared, and Fury panicked. When he was breathing out of that nose, you saw what he did. He pawed at it, and he saw that it was probably broken.
Yeah.
And that was when the fear set in, and that's when Usyk smelled blood. And Usyk, the technician, went to work. And then the 9th round speaks for itself. How Fury survived was corruption. I can't give him credit because the referee allowed that survival. So in a rematch, I have Usyk stopping him at some point because, like I said, he now has the range down, and it won't take him as long, to figure Fury out. And that's just how it goes. And we're just blessed to be able to see. It's not undisputed with the titles. This is like the whole shebang. This was the best versus the best in the division. Usyk now has cleaned out pretty much the top 5 of the division.
Yeah.
And I don't see him having to fight Zhang.
One of the things too tonight is, to me, Usyk fought a level above Fury, and it kind of just exposes the level that guys like Fury and Wilder truly are. Fury's a good heavyweight. Don't get me wrong. And because of his size and his skill set, he poses a stylistic nightmare to anybody, any night. But the level of Usyk, Joshua, Parker, I think those guys has been underrated. And the levels of Fury, Wilder, and all the PBC heavyweights, which another one bit the dust tonight, Frank Sanchez, I think has been overrated. And I think that's been exposed over the last year or so with the work that Usyk has done. And, I mentioned that he beat Dubois, he beat Joshua coming into this fight. Those guys have gone on to have really good wins since then. And look at what Parker's done.
And they would respectively be number 2 and 3, maybe even 1 and 3 on Fury's resume besides Vladimir, because Vladimir was an old 38 at that point.
Yes.
So Dubois and AJ beat anybody on his resume except for Vladimir Klitschko. Yeah. Okay, a prime Vladimir Klitschko, let's just put. But so that speaks for itself. Usyk really doesn't have any other fight out there unless he wants to take out the trash and finish off Fury. That's the only thing, and it would have to be where, they call the shots with the referee and the judges.
Right.
Because that was an absolute disgrace. I mean, just an absolute disgrace. I'm just glad finally we got the right winner. Maybe not the way it should have happened, but we still got it. So I feel like 80% vindicated. At least there wasn't that Lomachenko feel at the end of the Haney fight. It's a feel good feeling. Hey, to see a small guy beat a big guy like that.
Sorry to cut you off again, but I think you mentioned this before when we talked about this, but Lomachenko kind of let off the gas late in his fight, right?
Yeah.
I think Usyk saw that and he put on the gas. You mentioned the punch output from Usyk, how it goes up in those championship rounds. We saw that tonight.
Right.
And he threw and outlanded Fury clearly in that 12th round and decisively won that 12th round. And that's what put the stamp on the win for him. So I think that's a learning lesson for a lot of these guys going forward. You can't leave it in the judges. I mean, it's going to be in the judges' hands, but you have to step it up in those championship rounds and not let off the gas. You know what I mean? And Usyk did that tonight.
Because if he didn't win the 12th, he would have lost that fight.
He would have been robbed
on that one judge's scorecard.
Yep,
absolutely. And it wouldn't have been his fault. But like you said with Lomachenko, let his foot off the gas. Trust that the judges have your best interest in mind. And thank Lomachenko for showing them the way. Where you cannot trust the establishment. There is a political agenda out there, not only financial. There's a political agenda that has to be exposed. But we'll never get that without a world commission in boxing. That'll never happen. But we have to call it out. So with that being said, Mike, I'm going to let you go. I got to get back in here. I have a poker game now. But
all right, man. Enjoy your winnings. Enjoy your night.
I think Jai Opetaia broke his right hand in that fight because he stopped throwing the jab. And I think he's going to have some problems. He's injury prone. His face blew up. So he's a fighter I was very high on, but I'm a little
his stock dropped tonight.
Time to sell.
His stock dropped
big
tonight.
Time.
And you know what? Ajit Caballel's stock rose. Wasn't expecting
way up.
I wouldn't think to say that, but the Caballel's stock rose and Opetaia's stock dropped tonight.
And Frank Sanchez carried on the tradition of the PBC fighter, overrated, protected, getting absolutely exposed outside of the island of PBC. So you just have to call it as it is. So now buyer beware on this pay-per-view with Mazurmov and Crawford, because that Spence that Crawford beat was a shot version of Spence. And I'm not saying Spence was any kind of Hall of Fame fighter before he was shot. It's going to open up a lot of eyes when Crawford's going to have problems with this guy, because now it's 10-ounce gloves instead of 8-ounce gloves at 154. People don't realize that you have to wear heavier gloves at junior middleweight. And this Mazurmov is a beast. and he's going to lay a hurting on Crawford. And you can't go by that win with Spence. You cannot go by that win. And Madrimov even said in that interview to his face, he's like, I'm not Errol Spence. I'm not Errol Spence. Look at that as a plus 450 underdog. So, and keep in mind about PBC, their fighters just keep getting exposed. So with that, Mike, have a great night. Glad you are able to do the post fight party.
Thank you.
I
appreciate it, man.
I have to listen to some of these other fight parties and get the reactions. I think that Ring IQ is going crazy. I was laughing. I was listening to him a little bit right before I called you because I know he hates Fury and everything.
It's a win for all the good guys in the boxing community, man.
Yeah.
Like all the bad guys are in hell right now, and I love it. We've had several nights like this in recent years. I mean, you mentioned Crawford Spence. That was one of them. But all the bad guys in boxing are crying tonight, and I fucking love it. Yeah. Good night, man. It was a good night.
Good night, Mike.
All right, bro. All right, there he goes. Super chat from Aaron Gortman. Thank you so much, brother. He says, love you, Mike. Thanks for the video. Just got back from Perth on Thursday morning, and this was the cherry on top. Nice. I hope all is well with you and yours, Aaron. Always good to have you on, brother. Hope all is well with you guys. All right. I think I'm caught up on super chats. Yes. Okay. Let's jump back to the phones real quick. We're going to go down to Biloxi, Mississippi. 228. You're on the show. What's up?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. How you?
What a fight.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's, the old saying, when you were young and everything, it's like, this is why we can't have nice things. And I just thought totally they were going to rob Usyk.
I did too. Yeah, I really did.
Yeah. Yeah, it was refreshing, and I think there's something to be said about how the Usyk team demanded that the British Board of Boxing Control would not be the officiating body for this fight. They used the Middle Eastern one. I don't know. I mean, it's worth mentioning when you have a close fight. Just what a fight! I'm just so proud of boxing right now. What a great performance by Usyk. You know what? I hope the man walks away. I hope he just takes his belt, goes home, and for the next 30 years, I get to watch him ringside as the former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he made so much money tonight. And this guy's he was paid as an amateur. He made money in the World Series of Boxing. And then remember, he did that tournament, the World Boxing Super Series. He got paid very well there. He was paid very well in his fights with Joshua. So tonight, Turkey Al Sheikh, put up a lot of money for this fight. Usyk's got plenty of money. He really could walk away. I don't know. I don't know what he'll do.
One thing I'll say is that I give a little props. I don't like to give props to sanctioning bodies, but the WBO is why Oleksandr Usyk is here right now. He was able to obviously win the WBO title at cruiserweight, and they have a rule that says you can force a mandatory spot in the weight class above yours. That's why he got the Joshua fight.
That's a great point, man.
So I give them a lot of credit for that, and also credit to them for enforcing that, because people forget at the time that, Joshua Usyk happened, the first one, obviously, that they were planning for Undisputed, right? Yeah. They were trying to, but Usyk said, no, this is mine. This is my shot. Usyk isn't really, he doesn't sell a lot of tickets, so to speak, right? He's a road warrior, so it wasn't a money fight for Joshua. So good on the WBO for actually enforcing that a few years ago, and we jumped out loud here. We were I'm from Louisiana. I actually live in Virginia now, but
Okay.
we boiled 60 pounds of crawfish, and
Nice.
and so every time Usyk fights, I guess I'm gonna have to boil some more crawfish.
Yeah, dude,
Get that
you
juju
can't break it
working.
now. You got to keep that going, man.
That's
What part of
right.
Virginia are you in?
We're northern Virginia, just outside DC.
Oh man, that's a
I work for
beautiful
the federal.
area, bro. That's like one of the nicest areas in America. I love that part of the country, man. The greater DC area. It's just beautiful. You guys get all 4 seasons. I love it up there. It's really nice.
Yeah, we're in the heart of a wine vineyard country, and
Yeah.
I won't take too much of your time. I know there's other callers, but we can have nice things in boxing again. What a virtuoso performance from Alexander Usyk, and they got it right. They got it right. So
You're
good night,
absolutely right.
brother. See you on the next one. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in, man. Calling again.
Thank you. All right, we will do.
All right. Good call. Good call. Yeah, it's just, I'm thinking, guys, in the last few years, we've had several performances where hype bubbles and like certain media narratives and narratives from certain shitty groups of like shitty fan bases have just been blown up. And it's so glorious to witness. It's so nice to see sometimes the good guy winning and the truth being revealed, um, and a lot of times both of the fighters are good guys, but it's the fan bases and like the corruption behind one particular fighter that's bad. And when the truth gets revealed and the dark comes to light, it's just so satisfying. Because it doesn't usually happen in this sport. It's usually the other way around. So when you see that happen, it's just a good day. It's a good night. So yeah, this was a win for boxing. And let me, I've been hard on Tyson Fury. And the reason why is because I feel a lot of the media and the stuff around him, people lie and they just conflate a lot of things. And they also sweep a lot of stuff under the rug. But let me give him some credit. Tonight, look, a lot of fighters after that 9th round would have folded. You got to think about what was going through his head in that moment. It's like he's been calling this guy a middleweight, right? He's been calling him a middleweight during the whole promotion, a blown up middleweight, right? A little tiny little blown up middleweight. And this dude just beat the shit out of you, and the referee bailed you out. And in the back of your mind that you were knocked out and the referee saved your ass. You know that. So the pressure, that would have boiled most dudes, and they would have melted under that pressure. And you got to think, that was the 9th round. So you've got 3 more rounds. But Fury answered the bell, and he finished the fight. I thought he lost the next 3 rounds, the 10, 11, 12. He pretty much lost the whole second half of the fight. But he finished the fight, and he does deserve credit for that. And he also made it an entertaining fight. When this fight was first talked about, I was one of those guys that thought, man, stylistically, this fight might suck. But both guys might lay back trying to counterpunch, and it just might suck. This ended up being a really good action fight with a lot of back and forth. And I mentioned in my opening, like there was ebb and flow, but there was also high level skill and high level will. Both of these guys had to will themselves at different times, forward. And that's always impressive to see. So I thought that overall, this was a really, really great heavyweight championship fight that lived up to the expectations. And man, you just don't get that. How many of these pay-per-views in recent years have ended up in being just completely one-sided mismatches? We talked about Crawford Spence, for example, right? Completely one-sided mismatch. How many times have you paid $80 or whatever it is for the pay-per-view, and that's what you get? Well, tonight we paid $70, and we got a pretty entertaining undercard, although it took 14,000 hours, and there was some corny rap concert at the end. I don't know what the hell they were doing. This isn't Triller, guys. I have no idea who that little midget was rapping, but despite all that, main event, which is what we bought the pay-per-view for, it delivered. It delivered, and both guys deserve credit for that. Okay, guys, I'm going to take one more call because I've been on for almost an hour, and my wife brought me dinner. It's sitting here getting cold. I'm going to eat, and we'll do a pod this week when the dust has settled, and we'll really talk about this in detail. Once we can really reflect. I saw someone in the chat say that there are reports that Usyk broke his jaw. I haven't seen anything like that. I'll check my email and my texts and stuff. Somebody might have texted me with that info, and I'll let you guys know when I find out. But I don't know if any of that's been substantiated. Hamed is saying no, Fury broke his jaw. Interesting. I know he definitely broke that nose. If he broke his nose and jaw, that shows you Usyk's got enough pop, to do what he's got to do. Okay, one more call. We're gonna go to Omar in Hackensack, New Jersey. 201. You're on the line. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Mike? It's Omar. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Good.
Oh man, yeah. Look, I saw the fight. What a pleasure to watch. It was just like a pleasure to watch. I mean, I'm not even mad that I lost the bet because I took Fury by decision.
Okay.
But it was like I'm just happy for Usyk. But it was a competitive fight until the ninth round happened.
Right.
I'll say that much. But I think for the most part, I mean, the entire night, not for nothing, had bad refereeing.
Yeah.
Like even the Joe Cordino fight, like I was watching, like Kasaki hit him with a late hit.
You're right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Dude, that changed the whole dynamic of that fight.
Yeah.
Like it was just like it was ridiculous because I knew it was going to be a tough fight for Cordino, and I think he's kind of like overhyped a little bit, to be honest with you. But it wasn't. I didn't plan on him getting like a stoppage, and that was like I think that late punch had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, but, he never fully recovered from that. You're totally right. I completely forgot about that, but you're absolutely right.
No, he didn't. I thought the next round he did okay. He was kind of like easing his way back into it a little bit, but he just had. Give credit to Kasaki because he was clearly the stronger fighter by far. He just had a lot more power on him, and and he was just rocking Cordino against the ropes. And I'm surprised that the ref let it go on that long too. That's what I mean. It was just like a bad night overall refereeing. Same thing with the Fury Usyk fight. It was, but are we really surprised though? Because just look at the Haney fight as well.
Yeah.
There was several times that, any other normal referee, if that wasn't Devin Haney that Ryan Garcia was fighting, would have stopped the fight. But it's just, when you're the favorite, you're gonna get that special treatment. But I'm curious now of where Fury goes from here, and is Usyk, judging by his character, I believe that he'll give him a rematch. I'm pretty sure it's signed in a contract, but I want to ask your opinion as a fighter. Do you think that Fury should take that rematch? Because I don't know if he should.
I think that if he heals up in time and everything, I think he should, just because of the money. He's going to make 8 figures again, and he does still have a chance to win. I favor Usyk obviously in the rematch, but Fury still has a chance. He's still going to have a 40, 50 pound weight advantage and like a 4, 5, 6 inch height advantage. His reach is long. He's got every advantage physically. So he's got a chance to win. And it's like tonight, look, Usyk won, but it was close. It was competitive. Usyk clearly won, but it was still very competitive, and Fury definitely had his moments. So, I would advise him to take it. But at the same time, if the hunger's gone at this point, and like, because some dudes change after that first L. Some guys bounce back and it's no big deal. But some guys after that first L, they're just never, their heart changes and their heart just isn't in it no more. And he might be one of those guys. I don't know. So only his closest people know that. You know what I mean? In his inner circle.
No, I agree. I think it's gonna do something to his confidence no matter what he says. Even though like he's always I mean knowing Tyson Fury, he's gonna be like nonchalant about it and just congratulate Usyk. But
Omar, you broke it up. We lost Omar. Omar, you're on mute or something.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, okay. I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm like outside in the rain.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know why Fury stopped going to the body as well. Like a lot of his success was coming from those body shots. Now, yeah, I'll give you credit that some of them were low, and he's known to grab and punch too, which I never liked about him. But I mean, when he was winning the rounds, it's not even that he was just like slightly winning it. Like he was dominating the rounds that he won. And a big part of that is because he was going to the body and it was throwing Usyk off, which I noticed even in the Daniel Dubois fight, that's where you can give Usyk problems. Yeah. He's going to the body. But he just made an adjustment. Yeah, exactly. And he made that adjustment that he needed to make. I mean, I don't know if after feeling some of his power that Fury got kind of nervous or whatever, or just, I mean,
is because
it was so uncharacteristic of him.
Well, yeah. When Fury would have to, you got to imagine, dude, you're that tall. You got to like really reach down to throw that uppercut. So sometimes Usyk was slipping it or catching it on the elbow and then coming with a looping left, and those were landing. And, they were hurting Fury. He basically knocked Fury out in the 9th round with it. So at that point, I think Fury was hesitant to throw it again because you're right. He did have success for a while, but Usyk did make an adjustment, and it cost Fury. It almost cost him a knockout. You know what I mean? So maybe that's all it was. He was just a little hesitant because he was getting countered.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, it makes sense what you say, but like, I just feel like, bro, like this fight was for undisputed heavyweight. All the belts, all the glory, everything. And it's going to be a while to, it took so long for a fight like that to happen. Like, especially in the first fight, it got canceled because you got cut. Like, I expected a little more out of Fury, too, to be honest. Because I felt like, he was, dancing around the ring and taunting and, and shit like that. Yeah, it's cool when you're up, when you're winning.
Right.
But you got to, like, against somebody like Usyk, my brother, you got to dig.
That's a great point,
you got to dig in.
That's a great point. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I just felt like I don't know if he thought in his head that they're going to give me the decision. It's a close fight or whatever. And some fighters actually do have that mentality. Mm-hmm. And it's sad that they do, but that's the reality of it. But I expected more as far as a game plan. And I'm curious, too, I don't think he's going to fire his trainer, but if he brings somebody else on, too, because I remember when he had Ben Davison, and then he switched up to the guy he has now because he needed a different game plan for Wilder. So I'm curious to see like what the strategy is going to be for the rematch. But I mean, either way, I'm a paying customer because that fight was terrific. It wasn't, it wasn't a haggle of Hearns, but it wasn't, a boring ass fight either. It was very competitive until the later rounds. And man, congrats to Usyk. As far as the future of boxing, I'm curious where Anthony Joshua is gonna fall into all of this. And I'm also, it sucks that Bevo and Betterby fight is off again, man.
Yeah.
I was so looking forward to that fight.
Me too, man. I was actually looking forward to that fight even more than this fight.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah.
That was such a killjoy. I'm like, oh my God. And I just think it's at the age that, I just think it's at the age that Betterby is at too, man. They're getting all these injuries.
Yeah. And he's one of those guys that lives in the gym. And when you're in the gym all the time, you're going to get injured. It's just part of it. You know, if you're a gym rat and you're constantly moving around, lifting weights, doing this, doing that, you're going to pull shit. You're going to tear shit. It's just what happens. So some of these guys overtrain. And from what I've heard about Peter BF, he's kind of one of those guys. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, Pacquiao was like that, too.
Yep.
He always overtrains. But, I mean, I'm just excited, too, because there's a lot of good fights coming up. I mean, the Davis and Frank Martin fight, I really like. I think it's going to be probably one of Davis's toughest fights up to date.
I hope so.
I heard somewhere that Ryan Garcia and Errol Spence might get it on.
They're talking about it.
Is going to be a very
that'd be a freak show you'd have to watch. I'd have to watch that shit.
Oh my God, it's going to be so entertaining, man.
Yeah.
I got Spence in that fight. I don't see Spence losing to Ryan at all.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Vada or no Vada? You know, I don't know, man. Is there going to be drug testing? Then I don't know. You know, maybe Ryan's going to show in there looking like Ivan Drago, and you know, who knows what happens.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got nothing against Garcia. It's just that I'm one of the guys in the camp that like, bro, like, what the fuck are you celebrating about? Like, if I'm, first of all, he took the fight. I don't give him. I can't blame Garcia because he showed who he is. Came in overweight, and he didn't have to take the fight, and he did. And he's known to be a weight bully also. But I mean, I wouldn't. That's not a victory that I would be proud of.
Yeah,
you understand? Like, you know, like, congrats, you won. Okay, yeah, you won. You laid him out. If I was refereeing that fight, you would have won by knockout. But that's not the way you want to win. That's just not. And I think he's a skilled fighter, and he's falling into this world of TikTok and social media shit and doing everything for the likes. And I can't stand guys like that. Much less athletes, man. Like chase that glory, bro. Like, be known to be one of the best. Don't be known because you got a cute face and girls like you. But that's my opinion.
I feel you.
But yeah, man. All right, brother. I'll let you go. I know you got the kids and everything, man. So
good call, man.
I'm gonna keep listening. Yeah, man. I'll definitely call back.
All right, brother.
All right.
All right, guys. Yeah, that's it. And several of you I saw were on hold, and I'm sorry, but duty calls. I mean, I gotta get back to the daddy thing. So yeah, just to quickly recap. I think Hamed said that he was wrong, and it is Usyk that broke his jaw. We'll talk about that in the future if that really happened. And he broke his jaw in this fight and still did what he did. Holy shit, that just adds to the legend. That just adds to the legend. A broken jaw against a guy that's way bigger than you and everything else. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So Usyk is in very rare company right now. He could retire tomorrow, and he's an all-time great. And it's, you know, we'll see what happens. Does he have anything to gain from the rematch? I don't know. We'll have to discuss all that later, guys. But man, what a great night. What a great night for boxing. So much fun. Very entertaining fight. And despite Craig Metcalf and Mark Nelson's corruption, the right guy still won. So that's what matters the most. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And until next time, see you at the fights. Peace.